this morning. Right now, though, we're at 7 minutes after 10 o'clock. The city of Dundee has produced some great Scottish musical talent down the years, from Mike O'Mara to Ricky Ross, from The View to Billy Mackenzie and the Associates, Gary Clark. But could a new name be about to join this illustrious, prestigious list? Kieran Roberts Osterberg has autism and faced bullying growing up, but he's overcome that to win a place studying at the prestigious Berklee Music College in Boston, where Quincy Jones was once a student. The only problem is he needs to raise £50,000 to go on the course, and that's just for the first year. How's he going to do that? Let's find out. Kieran and his mum, Christina, join me in the studio this morning. Welcome both.
Hi, Stephen.
Hello.
Thanks for coming. What did you think of that drumming, first of all, and the Who Are You? It was good, wasn't it?
I thought it was quite funky.
Yeah, that was me. I do that. Little known fact. Right, let's talk about music, Kieran, first. You always loved music.
I've loved music since a very young age. I don't think I began to take it quite seriously until I was about 12, 13 when I started having lessons. Music's always been a part of my life in one way or another.
What are your early music memories? Was it listening to Mum playing things, or what do you remember?
Well, when I was younger, Mum used to play a lot of old school jazz vocalists and soul singers like Aretha Franklin, Ella Fitzgerald, Billie Holiday, Louis Armstrong. So you could say I have a bit of an old soul, I guess.
It kind of started there. It got under your skin at that young age. What was music teaching in school like for you? Because that's often where some of us get a chance.
It was quite a changing journey, I suppose. I started taking lessons in drum set, piano and voice when I first started high school at 12, and then when I was 14, my old principal teacher of the music department brought me into the school jazz band, and I was introduced to a man named Gordon McNeil, who's a well-known jazz musician throughout the Scottish and UK scene, and he introduced me to the wondrous world of jazz and improvisation. So from there, classical music, although it remained, it kind of left my mind, and the old school contemporary jazz and soul music became my point of interest.
Why drums? I always think drumming must be really hard. You know, guitar, I learned a bit of guitar when I was young, but drums is tough.
It can be. There's a lot of drummers out there who can do all sorts of crazy things, like John Bonham with his monster rock kit, and maybe David Garibaldi with his giant setup. But if you look back at music throughout the 20th century and the 21st century, all music, it's the music of the drum kit. Drums are at the foundation of everything you listen to. There's always some sort of rhythm there, and jazz music, being an American art form and the first kind of music the drum kit played, I naturally gravitated towards that, and I've been in love with it ever since.
Can you do those fancy things? Can you chuck the drumsticks up in the air and catch them and stuff?
I haven't tried my luck at that. I've been too scared to try that in case I fail.
Yeah, we don't want to do that. And, you know, you faced your challenges in school, Kieran, and you've talked about this. When were you diagnosed with autism?
My official diagnosis, I think I had when I was 12. Yeah, 12 years old. So that was the first official diagnosis, and that's when I knew. I always knew from a young age that I was different from a lot of other kids, and I never really knew the reason for that. And then I said to Mum, I want to try and find out if there is maybe something wrong with me per se. And she took me to the mental clinic in Dundee to see if I could get a diagnosis, and then I found out.
There's sure is nothing wrong with you, just different. We're all different in our own little ways.
Everyone is.
You happen to be very good at drumming.
I don't know if I'd say very good. I'd like to think I'm all right at it. I try to be humble with it. I don't like to put myself out there saying, oh, I'm the best, look at me, because I'm lucky enough with the experiences I've had in my music. I've met a lot of great drummers in this country, and you know, every day I'm able to learn something from them, and I can call some of these guys my friends, and I'm very lucky to be able to say that.
It's interesting, you got that diagnosis about the time that music was coming into your life. Was that a way of trying to express yourself and connect that you maybe found harder in other ways?
Oh, definitely. I wasn't the most sociable child when I was a lot younger, and I found that when I did go through the bullying that I did, music was a way for me to put my feelings into a sort of expression that I couldn't physically say myself, and that's manifested over the years. And now whenever I sit down on my instruments, I can say what I want to say through music.
It's a way of connecting.
Exactly.
Talk to me about the bullying. What did you face?
A lot of stuff that you might find typical. A lot of teasing, a lot of name calling in primary school. There was a few physical incidents with a few kids, but as I got older and I developed physically, a lot of that physical stuff more stopped, and it kind of it shifted to verbal abuse at times. But and I tried very hard not to let that get me down. I tried to keep quiet, keep my head down, keep to my studies, and just get through it. And then when I was 12, 13, that's when I would say it was at its most intense. And my mum and my old principal music teacher thought it would be sensible to try and get me into the practice rooms at school, just as a way to kind of shade myself from it. And then after that, I just found myself getting stuck into the piano and the drum kit and trying to improve my voice. And I found that became a way to not only make myself happy, but as a way to develop myself.
You can always take it out on the drums, can't you? Frustration.
Yeah, a lot of very loud hitting.
A lot of loud hitting. Right, Mum's here, Christina. I'm watching you, Christina, there, and you're just looking on so proudly as Kieran, quite rightly, as Kieran told his story there. But that stage when he was in the teeth of the storm with the bullying, that must have been really hard for you as his mum.
It was very difficult to watch him. And he said that phrase, "there's something wrong with me," quite a lot, because that was something the bullies would often say to him. He was a weirdo. There was something wrong with him, just because socially he didn't know how to connect in the same way that neurotypical people do. So I'd always known that Kieran was autistic. He'd always displayed autistic traits, but I didn't think the diagnosis was necessary until he decided that he needed to know why he was the way that he was. And as he said, he's just different and he's amazing. And I think maybe if he wasn't autistic, he wouldn't be quite as capable in terms of identifying rhythms and composing all these amazing gifts he has. So I think autism's actually been a bit of a gift for him. It's been difficult at times, but what it's given him has been greater than what it's taken away, I think.
Yeah, well, he's on BBC Radio Scotland and maybe going to America, which we're just about to talk about. Where are the bullies now? That's another thing to think about. From your point of view, Christina, at home with Kieran, with his music, how has it helped at home as well?
It's always good to just listen to how he's practicing and what he's doing, because he can't always verbalise what's going on with him. But if you pay attention to what's going on in terms of his practice, you can kind of get a feeling if he's in a good place or not such a good place. But he's very, very very hardworking, and he focuses very much on his drums. So we don't actually see that much of him because he takes himself away and practices for hours on end, which we used to think was a bad thing because he was cutting himself off from the world. But it's obviously been exactly what he needed to do, because he's managed to get himself into this world-class music school that hardly anyone gets into. So you
got very understanding neighbours, I'm going to imagine.
Very, very understanding.
Very understanding.
I'm surprised I haven't had any complaints from the neighbours, to be honest.
Well, don't tempt fate,
yes.
Kieran. Right, you have got this place at Berklee Music College. Alumni, amazing people went there, including Quincy Jones. Why did you want to go there, Kieran? Why there?
Well, once I started learning more about the history of jazz and the kind of people who have helped set the way forward with it, I learned that Berklee is a very famous institute for producing some of the world's most famous jazz musicians like Quincy Jones, Antonio Sanchez, Pat Metheny, Joe Lovano, Terry Lynn Carrington. All these people are masters of their art form, and not only for jazz, Berklee is known to produce world-class musicians in any field. They've got an alumni of nearly 300 Grammys between 100 people. It's amazing. They know how to produce a successful artist, and I wanted to strive to go for what I believe is the best institute in the world. I want to hopefully have the privilege someday to learn from these people. And growing up, I told a lot of people that I wanted to do this. When I left school, when I wanted to focus on my career, I wanted to go to Berklee, and I had a lot of people tell me that was never going to happen, and that I'd never get accepted to university to study music, and that I should get real and get a proper job. And that set me off. And, for a long time I believed them. I had engineering applications for university as a backups to make sure I'd be financially secure. But, thank God for my mum and Gordon, who supported me and pushed me to go for my dream. And I gave up on Berklee for a little while, and I tried applying for jazz courses at UK conservatoires, and I got knocked back by all of them. So for a while, I felt quite down on myself, and I didn't even touch my drum set for maybe a month and a half. And, you know, if it wasn't for my mum and Gordon, I wouldn't have gone for Berklee. You know, they pushed me and they said to me, you know, dreams aren't easy to get. If music was easy, everyone would be able to do it. And I realized, you know what, that's right. I've got to get up and I've got to fight for my dream. So I tried for Berklee. I did the best I could, and my best was enough. And I don't think I could have done it without the support of my mum or Gordon at all.
Tell me about the application. What was involved? How did you get your place, Kieran?
So I had to put through a normal university application online, and then I found out that I'd managed to get a place for an audition. I had to travel down to London to the Premises Studios, where David Bowie, the Rolling Stones, Adele, they've all recorded in those studios. And I think the receptionist told me the room I was in was where David Bowie actually recorded his last album before he died. So having that presence there, it was quite amazing. And I went down into my audition. I played my piece from my panel, who were actually Berklee faculty members themselves, and you know, they were fantastic with me. I played my piece. I did some sight reading, some ear exercises, and because Gordon got me onto ear training at an earlier stage in my career, it's helped me to develop my pitch and helped me to analyze music by ear, so I can play a lot of stuff without having to read music. And they picked up on that, and rather than give me the standard exercises they would every candidate, they gave me much more difficult exercises to try and identify, and I managed to do it. And you know, going through that, I had a good feeling. I thought, you know what, maybe I can actually do it. And then the piano faculty member, she actually got up onto the performance area with me, and she said to me, "We're going to play a blues now." And I thought, this is fantastic. I'm playing with an actual Berklee faculty member, and we just played a really nice slow blues and just jammed out. And it didn't even feel like an audition anymore. It just felt like playing with some world-class musicians. And after the interview was over, they asked me about my musical inspirations, my goals, why I wanted to go to Berklee. I told them what I told them, and they said to me when I came out that I was the best audition they'd had all day. And that was, you know, that really set the ball high for me, and it made me feel really great. And I came away from that audition thinking, you know what, maybe there's actually a good chance that I could get in. And it happened.
Tell me about the moment you found out you had a place.
Well, it was a funny moment, actually. I was actually coming back from Glasgow the night before from a gig with Gordon, and we didn't get back until 3 or 4 in the morning. So I slept in about 2-3 o'clock, I think, that day. And normally the first thing I do when I get up is I check my emails, and I see you've got a notification from Berklee about your application. So in a panicky state, I open up my application portal, and I open the letter, and it says, "Dear Kieran, congratulations, you've been accepted to Berklee." And I was sobbing when I read that letter. It just really is the proudest moment of my life to get into an institute like that and make my dream of getting into Berklee come true. And it was, you know, I don't think I stopped smiling that day.
Would you remember that moment, Mum?
A lot of screaming and a lot of crying and just jumping up and down. It was after the knockbacks from all of the UK institutes. It was, I always knew he was good enough, but you're just kind of on tenterhooks wondering, is this possible? And for him to have got in, it was just amazing. It's kind of a double-edged sword, because you then realise, wow, got accepted, but look at the fees. And that's something actually we really hadn't actually looked at, quite naively. We had hoped, because they do give out scholarships, but not realising international students can't get full scholarships. So it was a bit of a double-edged moment. Just immensely proud of him, but then utter fear and terror of how are we going to do this?
How are you going to afford this? But they want him so much. They have found some funding.
They have. They've managed to award him $13,000 every year. And we actually visited the faculty last week, and Kieran met with one of the deans. And they've been fantastic. They've basically said if we can get him there for the first year and he does well and keeps his grades up, they will do everything within their power to help keep him there.
Wow.
And he met with they have a work placement system for students to help earn money to stay. And he met with one of the staff members there who said to him, if he gets himself here, then he's got a job for 4 years. So all these people are helping so much. We've been so lucky with the response that we've had just, in the local community.
It's prestigious. It's the best, but that means it's expensive. £50,000 fees. How are you going to get there, Christina? What's the plan?
Well, we have started a GoFundMe page. We have a few kind of event nights planned where Kieran will do some performing, some gigs. He's been very industrious himself. He's got cards printed up with all his information, and he's been going to bank business networking meetings in the morning and presenting, asking for local sponsorship. And he met with the V&A last week to see about setting up a residency to try and raise some funds that way. So he's actually taken so much responsibility for this himself. It's difficult, but I think we will get there.
Wouldn't it be great as well if one of your drum heroes, Clem Burke from Blondie or someone like that, just stepped in? That would be nice, wouldn't it?
It would, especially with the financial help. I mean, I've been lucky enough that I was contacted by a very famous Berklee alumni, Antonio Sanchez, who was the drummer for the Pat Metheny group, and he scored the Oscar-winning movie Birdman, which featured Michael Keaton. And, he's been contacting me and my mother over Twitter, and he's been really, really supportive about what I can do to try and raise the funds, and he's been giving me advice on things I can do to improve myself as a player and as a way to find the money. And knowing that one of my biggest heroes in my art form is taking an interest in my career, it's a really amazing thing having that in the back of your mind that, this person cares about how well I do, and it's inspiration for me because I don't want to let them down and I don't want to let myself down. If somebody that important and that well-known and respected cares about my development as a young kid, I wouldn't say a massive chip on my shoulder, but, I owe it to myself to do everything I can to make my dream happen.
Which brings me to my next question, Kieran, because I'm going on about the money here, but there's another challenge for you as someone with autism, which is this massive move that you would make across the Atlantic and a new life in America as a student over there. That's a big thing for anyone to undertake, but for you, it's your dream and you're going to do it.
I think I will. I mean, growing up, a lot of people wouldn't realise, with my autism over the years, I've been very worried about letting myself be seen with all my autistic tendencies because people can be cruel at times. And, a lot of times I saw other people in school with disability needs who were, teased and made fun of. And I feel a bit guilty that I didn't speak out myself and stand up for them because I'm in the same boat. I mean, my autism isn't as, I wouldn't say severe, it's not as intense as some other people I know. And, some of these people really do struggle. I mean, I have my good days and I have my bad days. And, a bad day for me can mean that, I can't even process on how to get myself dressed or cook myself a meal. There are days when I really feel helpless. And a lot of people don't know that. And I don't let them see that because I've tried for too long to try and make people think that I'm a very confident individual and that I'm very capable, but that that's just what they see on the outside. Who I am at home with my family when I can be completely myself, it's completely different. Mum will have probably been frustrated many times about me not being able to get my head together and get dressed or clean my room, but God knows she's had so much patience with me and she's really helped me to come out of my shell and try and not get my head together per se, but, kind of implant that thinking process that I can function on my own and, move into another country in a city that I know almost nothing about. It's going to be my biggest challenge for me, both physically and mentally, but I'm not going to let that stand in the way of making my dream come true. I'm not going to get homesick. I'm not going to, let that stop me from developing my career as much as I can.
And Mum can come and visit.
Anytime.
Make me a promise, Kieran. When you get to Berklee, you'll do another interview with us from over there, and we'll do it down the line across the Atlantic, and you can maybe play a bit of drums for us live next time. Is that a deal?
Definitely. I would love that.
Do you know, we meet some interesting people on this programme, but you are a real inspiration, and I think you're going to make it. I'm sure you're going to make it, actually, given the spirit that you've got and the determination that you've got. A really amazing story and an amazing mum as well.
Thank you.
Let's not forget about her as well. Christina Austerberg, Kieran Roberts Austerberg, thank you both very much indeed for your time this morning. Good luck to you, Kieran.